We did the weirdest. We did the worst. Now it's time for the most controversial. "1998 was something of a transitional year for Eurovision Song Contest. No pun intended. While 1996 was a year of new ideas that never stuck, 1998 saw Eurovision in the middle of its evolution into what it became in the 2000s. 1997 saw a trial introduction of the televote, and a much stronger embrace of modern genres compared to the previous two editions. This continued into 1998, with all but 3 countries using the televote. But other changes were yet to come. Participants still had to sing in their native language, live music was the norm, and the EBU thought the most efficient way to manage the runtime was to kick a few countries out each year. But for some reason or another, Eurovision Song Contest 1998 was a magnet for trouble. And that's what we're going to look at in this video. Number 10. Fake Conductors. Eurovision has long had a complicated history with backing tracks. They have technically been allowed since the early 70s under the condition that the instrument being played back was represented on stage, but enforcement of this rule wasn't always consistent. I would highly recommend reading this article by Bas Tukker, which goes into more detail. In 1997, Eurovision officially allowed countries to use a full backing track for their entries, and this rule change carried over to 1998. Out of the 25 entries, 7 were performed completely with a backing track, and thus had no conductor. But that didn't stop Germany and Slovenia from presenting a conductor anyway. In the case of Slovenia, they had planned to use the orchestra, but the songwriters changed their mind during the rehearsal. But since Mojmir Seppa had already flown out to Birmingham, they decided to let him appear anyway and signal for the backing track to begin. Germany, on the other hand, had never planned to use the orchestra, but the composer, Stefan Raab, came out for a few seconds to pretend to conduct, and presumably stopped once the cameras cut away. This was Stefan's first involvement in Eurovision, and of course, it wouldn't be his last. 1998 was the last year that Eurovision had an orchestra, and starting in 1999, all countries were required to use a backing track. Number 9. Plagiarismception. Poland was represented by the band 16 with the song To takie proste, but fans have noted its striking resemblance to Iceland's entry from 1994, Intruder by Sigga. It's unknown whether the composers were directly inspired by Intruder, and no action was taken at the time. But I, for one, think Poland owes an apology to the Icelandic composers for ripping their completely original creation away from their hands like a newborn baby. Hold on. Number 8. Last minute wardrobe change. It goes without saying that Dana International was a style icon, performing her number, Diva, in a glittery silver dress with a single strap. But during the rehearsals, she could be seen sporting a different ensemble, a long-sleeved black dress with an extravagant shoulder piece decorated with bird feathers. However, not everyone was a fan.
And what they've done is they put this Jean-Paul Gaultier top on, and they put the hair up, and the makeup, and all that. And it's all gone a little bit arch, and a bit kind of, I don't know, a little bit self-conscious, I suppose, is what it is.
The costume reportedly made too much noise on the microphone, and the delegation decided to scrap the dress for the live performance. However, when Dana International was declared the winner of Eurovision 1998, she and her team rushed away to whip out the alternative option. This effectively left hosts Terry and Ulrika stranded on stage, and it took over 3 minutes for Dana to arrive and accept her victory. I think that I'm in love. Number 7. A backstage intruder. Malta was represented by Chiara with The One I Love. On the surface, the song had a pretty simple performance with Chiara singing a heartfelt ballad, but the staging was a logistical nightmare, with crew members tasked with bringing lit candles on and off the stage during the 30-second postcard. Eurovision is nothing if not known for its nail-biting voting sequences, and 1998 definitely delivered on that front. Before the last voter, Israel and Malta appeared to be tied for first place, with the UK 9 points behind. None of the top three received any points until the one and only Macedonia gave 8 to Israel, making a Maltese victory look more likely. 10 points went to the UK, putting them in second, but Macedonia's 12 points went to their Balkan brother in crime, Croatia, leaving Malta with nothing. A few years ago, I watched a Eurovision documentary from the year 2000 called Top 10, where Chiara described an encounter she had shortly after the results.
I coped very well, I must say. I was very relaxed and I just got up and I was going to my dressing room. And then this man came up. I don't know who he was. I think it was someone from BBC, I think. And this man told me, you know, you were the real diva of the night. And that was it. I just went in my dressing room and I spent 2 hours crying.
And I was like, hold up. During the interval of Ireland's national selection in 2014, they did this thing where they brought 2 Eurovision superfans on stage, there was a man and a woman, and they competed against each other by answering as many Eurovision questions as they could, kind of like Mastermind. But while he was on stage, the man told a story about how he had seen Eurovision live in 1998, and after the results, he snuck backstage by pretending to be a staff member, and he found Chiara crying and comforted her after her loss. I unfortunately can't find complete footage of Eurosong 2014, so you'll just have to take my word for it, but yeah, this guy straight up admitted to trespassing after 16 years. Number 6. Every second counts. As I mentioned before, 1998 was the last edition of Eurovision to feature a live orchestra, but some people just still hadn't got the hang of it. Since the third edition in 1958, it has been a rule that all Eurovision performances must be 3 minutes or less. But the Turkish Conductors struggled to get within that time frame, and during the rehearsals they kept failing to stay within the limit, even after being told that they would face disqualification if it happened in the live show.
3 seconds over.
3 minutes and 7 seconds.
Oh.
This wasn't the first time Turkey had trouble with the orchestra. Back in 1987, they finished with 0 points after a mishap led to the song being performed 10 seconds faster than the studio version, resulting in some exhausted performers. In the end, the orchestra managed to finish on time with less than a second to spare, and Turkey finished in 14th place with 25 points, including 12 from Germany. There's more where that came from. Number 5. Ulrika Said What? Terry Wogan and Ulrika Johnson are remembered fondly for their hosting of Eurovision, and in 2016 they were voted the best presenters of Eurovision in the 90s. But they weren't without their controversies either. The votes from the Netherlands were presented by Connie van den Bos, who represented her country in 1965.
I know you, of course, have taken part, so you must be feeling their nerves. A long time ago, was it? No, I didn't
Do
know.
you want to know? 1965.
Wow!
The audience didn't catch that Connie had already said it's long ago, and misread the exchange as Ulrika mocking her age, when in fact she was just paraphrasing Connie's own words. Number 4. Spain's votes. Spain is no stranger to fumbling their Eurovision votes. 2 years earlier, in 1996, their spokesperson gave 2 points to Czechoslovakia instead of Slovakia, and 6 points to Holland, which the host misheard as Poland, and the mistake wasn't corrected until the next day. But Spain's slip-up in the 1998 voting could have been a full-scale disaster. Either because of a printing error or the spokesperson misreading the sheet, she gave 12 points to Israel, who came second in the Spanish televote, 10 points to Norway, who came third in the Spanish televote, and so on until 1 point to Turkey, who presumably finished 11th in the televote. The mistake was not corrected until the next day, with Spain's televote winner receiving their 12 points, while everyone else got pushed down 1 rank. Thankfully, that country was Germany, who wasn't one of the frontrunners, because if Spain's 12 had gone to Israel, Eurovision would have had to deal with the nightmare scenario of announcing the wrong winner on the night. Number 3. The Greek composer. In addition to hosting Eurovision 1998, the BBC also did a documentary called Naked Eurovision. What is it with Britain and calling everything naked? A look at the behind the scenes of Birmingham before and during the song competition. A good portion of the documentary is focused on Yanis Valvis, the composer for Greece's entry. During the rehearsals, each delegation was allotted some time to review the footage and let the BBC crew know if they wanted anything to be changed. And Yanis had a laundry list of complaints and made his feelings known.
I think generally you'll agree that
No.
the main... You don't know what I'm going to say, eh?
No, it's possible to believe it. You can go with camera up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where are these moves? I need 6 shots. I'm the composer of the song. And I contest.
This went on and on, even though the BBC made it clear that they were sick of his crap, and it culminated in Yanis appearing on stage unauthorised during the rehearsal. Yanis was banned from the arena and left to watch the contest from the confines of his hotel room, but even that didn't stop him.
It's the camera face. When somebody walk in a fashion, where you put the camera?
1998 is regarded as Greece's absolute low point in Eurovision, and they finished in 20th place with 12 points. And no prizes for guessing which country they were from. Greece got relegated the following year and sat out again in 2000 for financial reasons, but it wouldn't be long before their Eurovision fortunes started changing for the better. Number 2. Gunvor. Switzerland was represented by Gunvor with the German language song La Sin. Switzerland was already in a precarious position in Eurovision at that point. They had failed to make the top 15 4 years in a row, and only narrowly secured a spot in Eurovision 1998 thanks to Annie Cotton's third place finish in 1993. Gunvor, who was 25 years old at the time, had already made a name for herself in the country as a national tap dancing champion. She competed against 5 other songs in the national selection and won over the televote for a chance to represent her country. The Swiss media and public were initially hyped over Gunvor's participation, but disaster struck just weeks before the contest. The biggest tabloid in Switzerland, Blick, started publishing juicy stories about her, detailing her frivolous spending habits and leaking naked pictures of her. These photos were taken by Jörg Wyss, who sold the nudes to Blick because Gunvor owed him money. Blick even alleged that Gunvor had worked at a brothel for a time. At Eurovision, Gunvor performed 5th in the running order, but finished in last place, failing to score a single point in the voting. Despite everything she went through, Gunvor has spoken positively about her Eurovision experience, and even has an anecdote about an amusing encounter with German participant Gildo Horn, where he greeted her by biting her access pass. Jörg Wyss, the scumbag photographer, was later sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for... Jesus Christ. Switzerland got relegated in 1999, and their Eurovision results would remain pretty poor, only securing a single top 10 finish over the next 2 decades. And they weren't even Swiss. Number 1. Spill the tea. It's just as well that YouTube did not exist in 1998 because the results would have had the anti-woke crowd absolutely fuming. 2 black women, a plus-size woman, and a trans woman in the top 4? It's DEI on steroids! Eurovision has long been a favourite for LGBT audiences, although it took a while for everyone else to catch on to this fact.
I didn't even know that gay people like Eurovision. It didn't even... I know, it was only when I came up here that it struck me that it was a...
They are the most incredible fans all over the world for the Eurovision, you know.
Do you know why that is? I mean, why would they like... What is it about Eurovision?
Because they like competitions. It's not because of the songs, like it's because of the competition. They like beauty contests, they like song contests, they like everything that involves with pick up the phone and vote and who is going to win and which singer is going to be the nice here.
Dana International was a milestone in the contest as the first openly LGBTQ person to win Eurovision. I said openly. Her identity as a transgender woman, or transsexual, as was the more common term at the time, left a lot of people scratching their heads, and the host of Naked Eurovision certainly wasn't shy about objectifying her.
It's a great chest. It's difficult to look poor, look shabby with a chest like that, isn't it?
Dana received a lot of backlash for her selection, particularly from Arabs. In the lead up to the contest, mass protests broke out in Haifa and Ramallah, where thousands of Muslims stampeded the streets. They displayed their backwards, bigoted ways for the whole world to see, and I'm just kidding. No, most of the backlash actually came from Israeli Orthodox Jews. Shortly after Dana International's internal selection in November 1997, Knesset member Shlomo Ben Izri called the decision offensive and said, "The Jews are supposed to be a light unto the nations, but this is a message of darkness." He also called Dana International a pervert and dismissed her gender identity, stating, "If you stick a tail on a man and put whiskers on him, does he become a cat?" In the months that followed, protests took place throughout Israel, with people attempting to get Dana International disqualified, and she even received multiple death threats.
I'm having a career for 6 years in Israel, and I can tell you that the Israeli journalists are the most arrogant and unpolite in the world.
Following her victory, the deputy mayor of Jerusalem, Chaim Miller, said he opposed Eurovision being hosted in Jerusalem, or indeed Israel at all, and called the competition a shameful event best left to the Gentiles. And earlier in 2025, several rabbis called for a boycott of the Nakba celebration after Dana International was invited to light the torch at the ceremony. But, you know, they're entitled to their opinion, and it's okay that Israel keeps pushing the narrative of these people deserve to be bombed and displaced because they don't support the queer agenda. That's the most woke SJW thing I've ever heard. But let's be fair to Israel. They, refugees. Yeah, that's it. Israel takes in LGBTQ refugees from the West Bank. They said to a small number of brown queers, "Come back into the land we stole from you. We'll protect you from horrors like being blackmailed into becoming Israeli informants at the threat of being outed to your families." Israel gives LGBTQ asylum seekers freedom to get denied healthcare, employment permits, and access to homeless shelters. They have equal rights, with the estimated 2,000 LGBTQ Palestinians living in Tel Aviv undocumented. Dana International returned to Eurovision in 2011, but failed to make the grand final, and in 2024 she offered words of wisdom to the LGBTQ community, warning them, "Are you aware that if you accidentally end up on the streets of Gaza, you won't get out of there alive?" This is absolutely true, of course. If white queers magically teleported to the Strip, they would very likely be killed by Israel's bombs and airstrikes. There would be nowhere for them to take refuge, not even in schools and hospitals, because the IOF keeps having a funny feeling that military operations are taking place in them, which of course makes them a valid target. Except when Ukraine does it. You don't have to keep pretending this is about Hamas. This is a safe space. I'd like to give a shout out to this Reddit comment detailing some of the controversies of the contest. I already knew about most of them, but it did give a couple of valuable pointers. This has been the top 10 reasons why 1998 was the most controversial edition of Eurovision Song Contest. Before 2024, obviously. But let's see how many of you leave a comment before finishing the video.